Right, I know I've got I don't know if it's the short straw, the last bit of the day, and I thought I'm going to keep it nice and short so that we can get home on time. If I want to introduce myself, I'm a self-confessed technophobe. You're never going to see me queuing up for the latest Apple product, much to Martin's horror because he's a great Apple person. You'll never see me up the next big thing. I'm quite reticent about technology. I've just about managed to work the remote control. And the reason I'm telling you this is because as a technophobe, I'm still considered to be good at social media. And that's because I concentrate on the people aspect of social media. Because people haven't changed. Technology has changed. The way you can do things has changed. But human interaction and human people haven't changed. Imagine if somebody said you've got an opportunity to meet people that you could do business with. Would you say, yes, you want to meet these people?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it used to be that you'd have to go to meet people, you'd have to go to a networking meeting. And I'm not suggesting in any way you don't actually meet people face to face. But you can now do it using things like Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or Google+. So you can actually meet people in a virtual environment. The thing is that people haven't changed, so the human interaction is the same as it was before. So if you go out, like I'm sure you've come across, do all of you do networking? Yeah? I'm sure you've come across the person who comes up to you, shoves a business card in your hand and starts on the sales page, or they only ask you questions because they want to sell to you. So they're not really listening, they're just trying to see which product they can push at you. I'm sure you've all come across that. So why, because we do something online, should we do that on social media? If you think about what annoys you in real life, why would you do that in a virtual situation? Because the people are still real, and yes, you do get bots out there and people who are pretending to not like automated programs, but people haven't changed. I know Twitter gets quite a lot of criticism because people say, oh yeah, people on Twitter are always talking about the food they're eating or the weather. But I would imagine all of you at some point today might have discussed the food. I certainly heard some people talking about the curry for lunch. We might have talked about coffee. Anybody talk about the traffic, the weather? We do this because it's what connects us as human beings. So if I don't know anything about you, I will try and find common ground. So I will start talking about things that we may share in common. And then after that, you will go into more details or ask questions about people. And if you go into any group, you'd first probably listen to what people are talking about and see if there's any way you can join the conversation and talk about what other people are talking about first before sort of talking about your business. Now, you can talk about your business on social media, but you've got to keep that balance of if somebody is giving you lots of useful, helpful information, then you're far more happy to hear what they've got, and you want to buy from them, don't you, if they're helpful and useful, and you actually feel that you know, like, and trust them. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but people do need to know, like, and trust you. And what social media can do is it can shorten that process very, very considerably. So instead of necessarily having to meet people, like the 7 points of contact for salespeople, instead of having to physically meet those people 7 times, you can do business because people have tweeted with you, have contacted you on LinkedIn, or even just seen your posts. I've got business from somebody I hadn't seen for years. We were Facebook friends. And even though I would never have emailed her directly, but she saw with what I was posting about on Facebook that what my business was doing now, because I moved from coaching into social media. I didn't set out to be a social media trainer. I I didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do. It happened. There was a need for it, and I sort of took that need. I was agile, if you're going to use it. Definite opportunity, there it is. And because of that, because we kept in contact on Facebook, she phoned me up and said, look, I really want you to do some training. And it's a major, it's a big brand. I've also got another piece of business. I was doing training on Tuesday. Through somebody, the first time I actually met him was on Tuesday. He was somebody who had bought my book and had tweeted to me. So we'd shared a tweet. I'd asked him to send me a picture of my book because lots of people are sending me pictures of my how to Twitter in all sorts of places. And he kept sheep and pigs, so I've got pictures of him with sheep and pigs. And that was that was about it. And then a few weeks ago, we had a conversation about, is anybody watching TV and on Twitter at the same time? The next day, he responded saying, I don't have a TV. We got into a little chat, and next thing, we're starting to talk business. So I had a first phone call and did business with him last Tuesday. And that is building up a relationship. Dee, who is here, I know she's gone now, is somebody who I'd met briefly for 15 minutes in real life at a networking meeting. But something about him made me read her book or buy her book. It was on my wish list. I started tweeting about her book. We started having conversations, and a lot of the conversations were inane conversations. They sort of I was tweeting, is Cadbury's chocolates, leftover cheese, and a glass of wine, a balanced meal. It was over Christmas. The kids were away. And those are the type of conversations we had, but we built up a relationship, which is I've known her now for it's almost 4 years now, but it's led to quite a lot of us. She wrote the foreword in my book. I've contributed to chapter in her most recent book on LinkedIn. So it's built up a relationship with somebody over a long period of time. When I did marketing I suppose, for Lieber Brothers, it was whoever had the biggest budget won. I worked on the biggest brand in South Africa, which was Oma at that time. This is way back in the 80s. And basically, we'd put millions into advertising spend, and we actually had the first and the second one because we had the budget to do it. Whereas now, you don't need the budget, you do need the savvy. You do need to think about how you can use what you know, how you can connect with people, but it's actually opened up opportunities to talk directly to people. It's opened up opportunity to speak to people and form relationships with people, which can then lead to business. If I'd gone in with sales pitches with a lot of people, it wouldn't have worked. But if you work on building up relationships with the idea of always having your business hat on, so never sort of doing anything in the public domain that you would be embarrassed about or that could be detrimental for your business, and I think anything that's private really shouldn't be online. So like this, it's fine to share personal stuff, and it's fine to show your personality, because your personality will come throughout anyway. But anything that's private, I don't think really should be online at all, because you never know who can get hold of it. So I think it's as long as you kept your business hat on, you can be personable, you can be yourself, and if you're yourself, you will attract people who are like you to you, and it's a lot easier doing business with people who you like than people who you don't like. Now, there's a few tips that I want to give you about people-to-people marketing, and the first is the power of you. Okay, we've moved from a corporate, sort of going hiding behind a logo to actually individual people posting. Individuals can publish information. So we've moved from corporates being important to individual people being important. But you've got to think about, it's not about you. It's about the person who reads your tweets. And if you keep your mind on your customer at all times, so if I'm tweeting, am I tweeting what I want to say? Yes, in some ways I am. Or do I change it around to something that would be interesting for somebody else? And it's changing the eyes in your your tweets or your Facebook posts to questions or something that can be the you. So you can say, I'm doing something, but just asking the question, so what are you up to? Makes people feel as though you're talking to them. You is a very powerful word because it's both singular and it's plural. So if I use the word you, everybody in this room feels as though in some way they're being spoken to because it's both singular. So if you use the word you think, oh, they're talking to me. Whereas it's actually, I could be talking about absolutely anybody in the room at all. So you is probably the most powerful word you can use online, which then changes the way your perspective is from being focused on yourself to focusing on your customer, focusing on the person reading it, because it's not about you, it's about the person who reads your content. It's a person that you're publishing your content for. And if you keep that in mind and you can change things from the I to the you, then you are thinking about your customers, you're thinking about the impact of what you're doing on there is. Second point I want to say is about don't forget the small person, okay? Every single person that you come in contact on social media is important. You never know what the impact is. And I know some people, like I know Guy Kawasaki caused a few ruffles because he wouldn't talk to people because if they had less than 1,000 followers. Doesn't mean that they're not important because they've chosen to use Twitter in a different way than he would choose to use. A lot of the things that have gone viral, the news that have gone viral, have started with people who've got less than 100 followers. So it's not about the numbers, it's about the impact you can have. You never know where business might lead you. So by being nice to somebody, and I do believe in being nice, and if you are nice to people, then you don't have to worry about all the defamation that might come out of the if something's libelous. If you don't have something good to say about something, it's better not to say it at all, is my philosophy, and will get you out of a lot of legal problems. So if you just think, if you're cross about something, just step away, step away from the computer. But just never underestimate the importance of someone, because you never know who they know, you never know the impact they have, and they may be the most influential person for you. So it's got nothing to do with numbers. So just remember the important, the little person. And then finally, people buy from people. So remember that you need to be talking to people on the level they are. And one advantage of talking on social media is you find out what people actually want. The advantage when I started doing blogging about social media, I didn't know that much about it. I was interested in it. And the feedback I got from the blogs I wrote influenced what I did. The impact that people interacting with me has influenced how I've blogged, what I've written, the types of training that I do. So it's having an impact, and it still has an impact, because you can talk directly to people, and people buy from people. And I'm conscious that we come to the end of the day, and I didn't really want to talk for that long, right at the end part of the day. Are there any questions right now? I know I've cut quite a bit. Yes, Meg, that's fine.
How do you advise a business like ours, which is stationary, and our target market is basically, predominantly children, girls. So I might be talking to a mother, a blogger on Twitter, trying to converse with them, get to know them, whether they'll review a product. But then I get something saying, yeah, you've got a shop, I bought 60 erasers, and here are photos of them, another Ellie aged 4. It's really hard positioning yourself, I find, conversationally on Twitter when you've got such a broad range of people you're trying to kind of woo, if you like, the real customer, and other people that you want to do business with in a different way. How do you balance that? Well,
I suppose with everybody, you're not always the same person to everybody, are you? Because if you're a mum, which I am, I'm a different person to my children than I am in a business sense, then I'm, sort of like in different contexts. So like somebody who knows me socially will see a different side of me from somebody who sees me in the public arena. So I would talk to people differently. But if your customers who bought who are going to put the kiddie pressure on their mums to buy the rubbers or erasers, should I say, that has a major impact, and the delight they'll have that you responded, that a company has actually taken an interest in them and has responded back to them is very powerful. I've sometimes tweeted about a good experience I've had and have used the person's Twitter name, like the company's Twitter name, and got absolutely no response. And that kind of makes you feel flat. It's like if somebody actually takes the time to respond back to you, it has a major, major impact. So yes, you would talk to people differently, but are you talking, is that on Facebook versus Twitter?
If you're following sort of mummy bloggers, for example, they don't always talk about what they're reviewing. They make a comment about a film they're watching, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, actually, that's my favourite film. But is it appropriate for me to say that if Ellie H. Paul, who's posted her erasers, will also see me on her Twitter feed? I just find it a really fine line to...
Well, is she poor?
Very young children who shouldn't be on
Yeah.
Twitter and Facebook. Who definitely
I know. Well, but I know my children. Yeah, Facebook's limit. Yeah, yeah. I know. Facebook definitely has a younger age group than officially it has. Yes, you would respond. I mean, you wouldn't. Would they be more likely on Facebook than on Twitter? Those people.
Probably, the younger ones.
Because like on Tumblr, you've got lots of younger age, whereas you wouldn't necessarily get the mums on Tumblr, but they would probably be on Facebook or Pinterest. So sometimes by using different social media platforms in a different way, you can talk to people in a different way. Yeah.
Do you know there was some real interesting presentation? For example, the legal presentation that was done. So if I wanted a copy of that presentation, would I be able to get that?
Well, are you happy for the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, we'll
Thank you.
Give me your cards, I'll send
yeah.
it over.
I've got, just like on tying up things, I've got Google Handouts from the Google presentation of how to set up your Google account. So if you want one, there's a hard copy here. He's going to send it to me electronically so that we can have that. There's bits and pieces in the goodie bag, including I'm just launching a social media tips club, so there's a special offer on that, so if you have a look at it. There's some great chocolate in there. I'm about to go into business with Richard over there in terms of expanding the social media, my social media offering than what I'm currently doing. But just, I was going to say, watch this space. We'll have some announcement. Oh, yeah, you can have a calendar.
My calendar, so please, a lot of time and effort went into this beautiful calendar, so please don't put it in the bin. If you're going to put it in the bin, then just pop it back on my desk so I can give it to my mum and my grandma.
Yeah. Oh,
You got your email address on that?
there's a...
It's got the website address, yeah.
Okay.
There's, yeah, Sam's got a free prize draw. I need to go and collect something. I need to, yes. I need to depart,
one
yeah.
more question,
Yes,
sorry,
yes, that's
before we
fine.
go off on that segment.
Yeah.
There are so many platforms, obviously we've heard about Google Plus a lot today and a few other things. If you were sort of starting up a business, do you feel that there is a need for us to be blanketly on everything
No.
so that we are thinking, oh,
If you're starting up, I'd say start with one thing.
yeah,
Because it's so easy to get overwhelmed and do, everybody says, oh, you need this and this and this, and then there's Pinterest, and then there's YouTube, and it's easy to get overwhelmed and not do anything. Just start with one thing. Like somebody say, take Twitter or you take LinkedIn. Yeah, one platform, yeah. Learn how to use it properly, because all those skills about learning and interacting with people, you can transfer onto the next thing. So for example, when I go onto a new social media platform, like I've just gone onto Goodreads, I can establish my presence a lot quicker because I've got a strategy about how to go about it. But I learned that I started with Twitter, and Twitter, even though it's full of jargon and scares a lot of people and it's got a very high fear factor, it's probably the easiest to get to grips with. So, yeah.
Just further on that, just try and find out where your audience is
Yeah.
as well, because different types of people use different things.
So, yeah.
If they're on Facebook, get to Facebook. If they're on Twitter.
So if you had a younger or techie thing, Tumblr might be more appropriate, because Facebook has got a certain young age group. If you've got kids, and then almost Facebook's not cool because their mums are on Facebook, so they will switch over. My daughter's moved to Twitter because One Direction's on Twitter, and she's got a Tumblr account because Facebook's not cool, but they still chat on Facebook. It depends on your audience and depends on your business. So for example, with your business, Tracy, I would have thought Pinterest is quite a good one, your old business that you had. Yeah. So there's certain platforms that are better than others. There's certain stereotypes, but almost all the numbers are ginormous. If you look at any single one platform, the numbers are far more. You don't need that many. You don't need that many business people to do business with to make money. And they're actually saying, like the actual number of people that you need to have as contacts are very, very small. So it's not necessarily going out to the bigger wide world, because unless you've got a way of dealing with that, and maybe your market is bigger, but different people have different things, you don't need that many people to actually have a successful business. It's forming great relationships with those. Okay. Right. Any questions?
Is quality more than quantity?
Yes.
Better to have 1,000 raving fans than 100,000 people who
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Active.
I always, quality beats quantity. There's certain times that you need a certain amount of quantity, but but generally, building up those relationships is really important.